Hello and welcome to another video from the Fantasy Legion. I've got Sean with me.
It's good to be back, Al.
Yeah.
What are we up to today?
We're doing 2020 player profiles. We've been requested that we do Steffon Diggs because he's a tricky one. He's moved from obviously the Vikings to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
How do you like Steffon Diggs this year? Let me just find his ADP.
Yeah, check his ADP. Let's check his current ADP just to be on the safe side. But while you're doing that, I'll just give a quick kind of overview. I mean, I'm not that enamoured, if I'm honest with you, going to Buffalo for Steffon Diggs. I'm not
He's
too
down
keen.
at 59. That's incredibly low for a player of his talent.
It is,
That's
but I think
consensus rankings on Fantasy Pro.
I think realistically, we've got to look at what this really tells us is we can kind of quickly break it down. I mean, should Steffon Diggs get roughly about 1,000 or so roughly receiving yards? I think that's probably about right. I don't think there's sort of more than 8 touchdowns, I think, realistically. I don't think there's more than that there.
But do you need it at pick 59? He's pretty solid, I think.
That's okay. I mean, that's about 100 and, what we're talking about, 140-ish. Yeah, it's
how many catches do you reckon? 70 to 100 probably as well. So
I think he can get 70, 75 catches that he'll actually make there in Buffalo. It'll be a bit of a progression year one. I mean, at that price in smaller leagues, 10 or 12-man leagues, that's very serviceable. That's okay. I think actually looking at it logically, that seems okay to me.
I mean, if he's going at that ADP, then he's a buy for me, I think. I wouldn't want to go any higher than that.
I don't think that. No, I agree with you. I think at that price, I'm quietly comfortable. Even in the bigger leagues, that puts him in the fourth round. I'm okay with that as well because he's at the end of the fourth round, so that's okay with me.
I mean,
so all of those things add up.
For a talented player, an ADP of 59 is actually his sort of floor is sort of reflected in the price because that's about everyone's worried about him moving teams, obviously. He's with a new quarterback. But Josh Allen, I mean, they're probably a run-first team, but, he can throw the ball long. And Diggs is he showed last year he's a deep threat. He caught less passes last year than he had in previous years, but a lot of deep balls. And he's a truly talented player. So
I'm not adverse. I was thinking, when we first started talking about it, I was thinking I'm probably going to be a swerve. But the more we started to discuss it, I'm more actually, it's okay. It's not like it massively excites me, but it does a serviceable job. And sometimes when you're picking at the back of a particular round, just being solid and safe and secure is good. And I think he does give that. I suppose there's a small red flag around a couple of niggles of injuries, but they're not serious enough to worry me. I mean, players always get injured. So I'm not really too concerned. I think moving teams could benefit him in his case because I think in Buffalo, with that cold weather coming in, he can operate out of the slot and he can do all sorts of things all over the field, can old Diggs. So he's quite a canny veteran now. So could prove to be a really good stomping ground for his career.
Yeah. I mean, so I think like you, I was not a buyer of his. Even though I'm a fan of him as a player, I think he's a good player. But at 59, you kind of have to be. That's like your second wide receiver.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can lock in 2 running backs and another receiver before that.
I mean, I can't really see much less than. I mean, the worst case scenario I can see is high 800s in yards. Okay, that's a slight dip, but it's only 10 fantasy points. He's
going below Darren Waller, who's a tight end.
Yeah, that's mental. Darren Waller isn't going to outproduce Steffon
that
Diggs.
Just puts into perspective. I'm a big fan of Waller, and I tipped him last year to be a great sleeper.
Yeah.
And
but you would agree with me that there's no way in any format.
There's no way in any format ever I'm going to be drafting Waller out of Diggs. So 59 probably ridiculous for a player of his talent. So
and if you've gone running back heavy, he might be your first wide receiver off the board or second, as you say, and that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
He doesn't have to produce top end numbers to return his value like he would have done in seasons gone by. So
interestingly, thinking about his situation in Buffalo, I actually think he's probably stronger in half-point PPR and standard than he is in full-point PPR because he's not going to rely so much heavily on the volume again. And that might suit him down to the ground. So, I mean, again, if you're making a decision based on the scoring system, he might do all right there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually.
Because you know what it's like, don't you? Some receivers, he's one of them, really. He's not boom or bust. He's quite consistent. He tends to churn out that 70, 80 yards, and then the odd big game here and there.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly good in that format. You can live with that because you know that's pretty flex-worthy player there that doesn't cost you any, and you're pretty confident that's what he's going to give you every week.
I'll tell you who's around him is another interesting. Just let me know you'd pick out of these, because Keenan Allen, who also sort of dropped to that range as well, he's another player you probably wouldn't mind as your second
I would
receiver.
rather. It's strange, isn't it? I mean, normally, like last year, I was thinking, because I've not really been a Keenan Allen buyer, but last year I was a bit more tempted, but it never came up because his ADP climbed again too high. And if I'm looking at the two of them today in the cold light of 2020, I'm taking Diggs every time. I'm not touching Keenan Allen this year. I just don't trust that situation at all.
So I guess, although we're not overly excited and we're not overly going to buy into Diggs at 59, I think we both would be a thumbs up for that, wouldn't we? So
yeah, I think that's safe. And sometimes in drafts you have to stabilise. If you've taken a risk high up a draft board, you could do far worse than taking a steady player like Diggs here, I think.
Okay, well, there you go. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for more episodes and videos coming up.
And this video was suggested by one of you out there kindly, and we will always take your suggestions on board. So if you've got them, as Al said.
Yeah, so any requests, leave them in the comments and we'll pick them up and we'll run with them and do a video for you. Okay, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.